page. Yes, we believe that the biggest challenges are coming from basically three clusters of technologies and three clusters of competing materials. First is in fact pretty traditional, but nevertheless the ever advancing polymer-based materials, so polypropylene, polyethylene materials, which are increasingly penetrating into pipe and tube market. For example, in utility sector, they have successfully substituted steel basically out of this sector almost completely in more advanced countries, like, for example, Western Europe. And in Russia, the pipes for utilities, for, let's say, water supply or for heat supply, were dominated by, these markets were dominated by steel yet in 1990s. And now more than half of that market is already occupied by plastics. And in fact, plastics keeps growing at a very big pace. So we estimate that given the speed of their development, given the lower costs which they enjoy, given the actually other strong properties of them, they probably will keep diminishing steel share for the foreseeable future. And in fact, this is the market where for steel it would be very difficult to stay competitive.
Click on the next one. Yeah. So here we put here four main, let's say, commodities, which we just would like to give some highlights on. So first of all, it's metallurgical coal. As you can see, so here we've got the trends now from 2015 to 2019. Then, as you can see, in 8 months of 2020, we have a significant drop in coal, and going forward, the experts and consensus shows that the coal will raise a bit, so will grow, but not so significant as it was before. So then you can see aluminum and copper as well here. So as you can see, there is a significant drop from what was even in 2018. And compared to that, gold is playing vice versa in the opposite. And all our CIS gold producers, for example, are very much benefiting from the situation with the gold with record prices whatsoever.
After we didn't agree on the price with the billet supplier for our rebar rolling mill factory, we decided to discuss the full production processes on the second meeting, and likewise review transportation, cost engineering. So two companies were very open to each other. They discussed all their supply chain, how they are doing work, and also we started to give some advice, some suggestions how to reduce the cost. So it's possible to communicate openly and at the same time to keep the confidentiality of business. So this is another skills for companies to be confidential.
On this slide, you can see assessment of staff motivation factors is a career growth, psychological climate. It's all about level of living. It becomes harder. It becomes more harder for people to get the money and get their goals in living.
Yes, thank you. I think this trend obviously started even before the pandemics. We see that the production lines are going to be less and less reliant on labor, and even to a bigger extent less reliant on human intelligence and on decision making by humans, because in so many applications, be it the actual mixture of ferroalloys, for example, to use to produce specific steel grade, or be it building of logistics calendar to take material out of steel. In so many applications, we see that artificial intelligence, as we call it, or algorithm, as we used to call it in math department of Moscow University before, they are just working very well, and they are working to help people to make more efficient decisions, and they are working to also to build increasingly more automated processes. That's why we actually, you're right, we invest in a lot, and actually the biggest growing part of Severstal employee community is actually IT specialists, even though the whole company is not growing. We are growing in terms of EBITDA and volumes, but we are not growing in terms of number of our people. But if you take a look at our IT experts, their number is increasing 5–10% every year. And this was the trend well before the pandemic. They will continue to be. Actually, I think in 10 years it will be surprising to see what would be the composition of a typical workforce of a steel company. People would, from 20 years ago, would be really amazed. Speaking about the new motivation methods of Vladimir. Yes, so this is not something which flip-flops, which you can switch on with the pandemic and you will switch off without pandemic. This takes a lot of investments, a lot of patience, and we have a lot of discussions, for example, around infrastructure. And I must say the decisions, financial decisions about digitalization are never very easy. And never very straightforward. And sometimes it's actually not very rational to invest in cutting-edge digital technologies, and it's more rational to wait a little bit while that get cheaper and infrastructure would get more developed. But nevertheless, we see a lot of potential. So estimates show that you can add from 5–7% to even something 20–25% additional EBITDA just through smart application of digital technologies. We will continue doing this. Of course, now we have another motivation in mind. It's not just efficiency, but also protecting people and making sure the systems remain very resilient, even in the conditions of remote work.
I understand that our company is ready for every a second wave or a third wave. I think that they are ready, and the demand in oil and gas will be the same because of government projects of building oil and gas objects.
Actually, we are trying to build our business model on such way that do not keep a lot inventory. So we are trying to be to produce what you need today. So do not keep a lot of inventory. So to plan your inventory efficiently. So I don't think at the moment what is happening for galvanized steel, for PPGI, we have a demand. For billets, for rebar, we have reduced demand, so there is huge reduction. So it depends on the product, but I don't think we'll have a lot of. We are local producer, and many people exporting materials mainly from Chinese market and other CIS markets. So we are more resilient being a local producer.
I look at it from the one perspective. So I look at it from the perspective where we build our ports, which are coal ports. So because infrastructure is very important for coal, so you cannot ship just from anywhere. So coal is a very like it's since I said it's a dirty it's a dirty resource from the shipping standpoint. So you can ship it only from the certain ports, certain specialized ports. Therefore, if you look at the infrastructure program which Russia has, so yes, we have at least 3 projects right now which are connected with coal transshipment terminals on the deep water, and 2 of them are in the forest and 1 is in the north. So technically, I can imagine, I can expect that from the Far East, you can have this additional portion of the coal, which might be in excess from the Russian needs internally, which might be shipped to India, for example, in case China will not be the first choice in this case. So I can imagine that it might happen, but I wouldn't say it would be a tremendous, let's say, difference of tremendous growth. I wouldn't expect it to be like twice, thrice, or 4 times more than we have right now. So that